Hi guys, welcome to our channel. Today we are discussing an action and crime film in which a strong man decides to get involved with a large and influential mafia group to take revenge on the murderers of his wife and child. He has a tough road ahead of him for this choice, but he is determined to make it happen. Check the title of the movie in the description. The film opens with three men hunting in the woods, one of whom, Dale Burrows, separates from his two friends after unsuccessfully hunting rabbits to go on another hunt. Moments later, Dale finds his prey and is ready to pull the trigger on his gun, but suddenly a muscular bald man named Ryan appears. He mentions that he came for revenge and throws him off the cliff after choking him. Ryan wakes up with a nightmare of masked killers killing his family. The next morning, he enters a town called Hope after getting the address from the cafe owner. When Ryan gets there, he goes to a gas station to buy some items and finds information about a nearby motel to stay in from the owner, Kirby. Kirby guides him to the only motel in town. On the other hand, an FBI special agent named Sutton and his colleagues arrange a plan to hunt Dale, who is a killer who is also a rapist. Meanwhile, he is informed that Dale's body has been found and that he is now dead. When Ryan enters the motel, it turns out it's run by a young woman named Darcy, who doesn't have many customers because it's rare for out-of-towners to visit Hope. She is surprised that he came to such a dangerous city under the influence of a big mafia, considering the city is perilous. Ryan replies that he only came here for business and hands over the key to room 3. While patrolling the city, Ryan comes across bikes parked in front of a building. Moments later, a member of the mafia gang comes out of the building and is disturbed by the dog that keeps barking at him, so he pulls out his gun to kill the poor dog. Ryan punches him in the face to stop him before pulling the trigger. He grabs his gun but avoids killing him. A little later, the gang members hear the commotion that Ryan has created and come out. The mob leader appears, and he is none other than Drake. To his surprise, he decides to avoid the conflict and leaves Ryan. On the other hand, he has urgent work, and since he is considered one of the biggest drug mafia, he spends his time dealing with shipments. Ryan meets Darcy, and she talks about his unique car. During the conversation, it is revealed that she has lost her husband. Ryan also avoids drinking and smoking, which surprises Darcy. Afterwards, Drake's right-hand man, Rex, informs him that the club's owner has refused to pay their security fees. Drake gets angry and invites the club owner to a one-round boxing match. If the man wins, Drake promises to never ask him to pay for security again. The man inevitably gives in to the fight. Since Derek is a professional fighter with a strong body, he defeats the big man without any problems. Drake then lets the man go, seeing the score is settled. Besides, Drake still needed his money, and the man couldn't give Drake more if he died. But extortion is not the only way for Drake and his group to make money. They are also mainly drug dealers and manufacture it in their lab. Responsible for overseeing lab, in fact, is Rex, and he has many duties in the gang. In addition to checking and monitoring the lab, he has to keep an eye on Ryan. He is obliged to get information about the arrival of this stranger, so he meets Darcy later that night. Rex asks her about Ryan, however, Darcy refuses to answer his question, making him violent and threatening. He notices that Darcy has a shotgun under her desk, forcing her to provide information about the newcomer. Ryan, who happens to be at the motel, overhears this, so he violently stops Rex. Seeing Rex being beaten, Darcy warns Ryan that the person beating him is the circle leader's younger brother, Drake, and that Drake will retaliate if he finds out that he tortured his brother, but Ryan doesn't care. Instead, he takes Rex to the front of gang's lab while strapping him to the hood of a car. Rex's pleas for survival are futile, so he tries to make Ryan face the consequences of his death, but he still ignores his words.
I know why you're here, man. I'll tell you what, man, my brother, man. You know who the fuck he is, right? You know who I am. I promise you, if you just let me go, man.
That make you feel like a big man? Girls like Darcy.
Then he lets the car go and crashes into the lab, causing a huge explosion. Rex is killed in the explosion, the laboratory is destroyed, and Ryan leaves there satisfied with his due. Soon, Drake and his group notice the explosion. They rush towards the lab, but Drake could only stare at the flames in shock.
Get in there and get him.
After learning about the death of his beloved brother, he gets furious. It wasn't long before Sheriff Cole and his promoted son Frank arrived to see what had happened. Drake threatens him that, if necessary, he will set the city on fire so that there is nothing he can do, and then he warns him about his son. Confronted by his son, the sheriff believes that everything he did was to keep Hope safe, and then Drake and his men declare war by firing non-stop into the sky. That night, Darcy warns Ryan to leave town as soon as possible, but he is still determined to face his actions. It turns out that Darcy's husband was also killed by Drake and his gang, so when Ryan is about to leave, Darcy changes her mind and says maybe you should stay.
Maybe you should say.
Okay.
The next day, at the gas station, Frank asks her about Ryan because he suspects he is here for a special reason, but she avoids the right answer. After that, Darcy asks Ryan not to leave without saying goodbye and tries to indirectly invite him to a party, but he avoids giving a definite answer. On the other hand, Drake's men take Kirby to meet him by force and threats, and he forces him to join his gang.
I need to know where he goes, what he does, who he is. Help us.
Drake's request is to get Ryan's necessary information and inform him. Ryan is determined again to target a truck that belongs to Drake and is trying to move a shipment of drugs to another city. In the middle of the road, he stops the truck and forces the driver to leave it. Then, after making sure that the truck is carrying drugs, he blows up it. One of the gang members notices the destruction of the truck and reports it to Drake, who is furious that he has lost a large amount of drugs. He immediately orders to find the cause of the explosion. Inevitably, on Drake's orders, Kirby investigates Ryan's car, hoping to find information about him. But while he is busy spying, Ryan comes out of the motel and forces him to stop his investigation. Since he is terrified, he invites Ryan with an awkward smile to drink at his house near the motel, but Ryan is aware of the situation. When they arrive at Kirby's house, Ryan questions him about searching his car. Kirby admits that he obeyed Drake's orders to find out about him. Just as Kirby finishes speaking, the sound of a motorcycle stopping in front of the house is heard. He is one of Drake's men named Crab, who has come to challenge Ryan. The two get into a fight, and Ryan easily manages to defeat him, but he lets Crab go. Meanwhile, Drake conducts his investigation by meeting with the sheriff, and from their conversation, Drake learns that Ryan is a former cop who quit after his family was murdered. Drake thanks the sheriff for the information and gives him some money. Frank sneaks up on Ryan and warns him about his potential conflict with Drake. However, when confronted by Ryan's question about whether he is a good cop, he admits that he is not on the payroll. At night, Ryan pours himself a drink, contrary to his claims that he is not a drinker, and surprises Darcy. From their conversation, Darcy realizes that his target is Big Brother, not Rex. Drake and his men break into Kirby's house while he is sleeping. He was disappointed Kirby couldn't even be trusted to find information about Ryan. While Kirby is very scared, he narrates a story about his time in prison, and he is very grudge about the misbehavior that the police did to him and other prisoners.
They throw a blanket over the bars in the cell so the guards can't see what's coming down. Then they torture you, cut you, beat you half to death.
As punishment for Krabby's incompetence, he orders Crab to kill him. The next morning, Ryan and Darcy come across Kirby's hanged body, and Ryan is sure that his killers are Drake and his gang because no one else could have committed that crime. So, with no time to lose, Ryan sets out to avenge them. In a meeting with the sheriff, Drake warns him that he needs his support, and after he leaves, Frank enters and informs him that the federal agent will meet him. In the meeting with the sheriff, Sutton cannot get the necessary information related to this case and decides to follow this case personally. On the other hand, Ryan infiltrates one of the gang's clubs, gets into a serious fight with Drake's people and neutralizes them all. After that, he kidnaps Crab and puts it in the trunk of his car. He leaves him alive and burning in front of Drake's base, and Drake is furious to see him and orders his men to kill him. Ryan recalls how masked gunmen attacked his family party and brutally killed everyone, including his wife and son. He, who was shot himself, is miraculously saved from death and decides to take revenge on murderers. Drake and his men prepare their weapons for the attack. That night at the motel, Darcy hears suspicious noises outside, so she gets up from the couch and gets her shotgun ready to fire. Suddenly, Ryan, who had already guessed the enemies were lurking, asks Darcy to hide behind the reception desk. Moments later, the front door slowly opens, Drake's men enter, and Ryan deliberately waits for them all to approach him. When he feels they are within his reach, he tells Darcy to turn off the lights. When the room is completely dark, the mob starts shooting aimlessly, and Ryan immediately kills them all. When Darcy turns the lights back on, he finds the gang in the room dead, and surprisingly, Ryan is completely unharmed. However, he realizes it is unsafe there, so they leave there. Unfortunately, he doesn't realize that his enemies are waiting around the motel and ambushed him. They beat him until he falls unconscious and take Darcy with them. When Ryan wakes up, he finds Drake's face in front of him, and his arms are now tied to the chair, so he can't move freely. Drake tells him that he will kill them both, but before he tries to finish her off, he tastes her body first. After saying this, he orders one of his men to torture Ryan and leaves there himself. He beats Ryan down hard and seems to enjoy it a lot. However, suddenly Ryan opens the ropes and kills him with a surprise attack. He searches the base to find Darcy, checking every corner where there is a ship. A little later, Drake's men surround Ryan, trying to attack him with weapons. Still, Ryan is too difficult for them to defeat. Leaving behind all the attackers, he continues his search on the ship and finally finds Darcy. He releases her from her restraints, and they start looking for a way out of the ship. They arrive at a place where millions of dollars are hidden and are surprised when Drake suddenly appears. Ryan realizes it is time for the final duel, so he tells Darcy to hide. Before the fight begins, Drake tells Ryan that he remembers him as a former police officer who slaughtered his family before he ruled Hope. All this time, he thought Ryan was dead. Although he did not recognize his face at first, now he knows very well who he is. It turns out that the murderers of his family and the other police officer's family at that party are Drake and his people. After this revelation, the duel between them finally started. The two exchange blows, but Ryan's attacks are much stronger. Meanwhile, Frank and Sutton find out from the bodies of the previous night that they are in an emergency situation, and moments later, Frank realizes his father committed suicide. So he decides to stand against the criminals more determinedly than before. The conflict and fight are still going on seriously between them. Finally, Ryan succeeds in defeating him with strong and consecutive punches. Just when Ryan thought he had won, Drake got up and pulled out a knife and was going to stab Ryan in the back. Luckily, Agent Sutton arrives in time to prevent this from happening and saves him with a precise shot. The presence of the FBI in this city was to stop the oppressive actions of this Mafia group and the oppression they did to the people. After this, Sutton decides not to arrest Ryan because he feels the police still need someone like him, so Ryan leaves there. On the other hand, Frank, who will be appointed as the city's new sheriff, seems involved in the emotions that have attracted Darcy to him. At the movie's end, Ryan says a memorable goodbye to Darcy before leaving the motel and going on the road. Don't forget to like the video, and subscribe to our channel.